Hey there, welcome back to Creepy Encounters. In today's video, man at the end of the road. The man at the dark dead end. Stranger exposed himself to me while I was alone at work. This happened a few weeks ago, but it still stresses me out every time I leave my house. I've posted about a more recent incident but think this one fits in for this sub too. So I live in a rough area of a very poor city in England. I'm also a commuter and live behind the train station. When I leave my house I can turn left or right to head to work. Each end of the road I can turn into tunnels to take me round to the front of the station, or the back. I now take the front route. Why I no longer take the back route is another story. The journey to the station is a 5 to 7 minutes walk, really not long at all. For the most part I don't mind, but when it's winter, and I'm leaving the house at 6 a.m., it's pitch black and the streets are empty. It's really eerie and creepy. Usually the road is empty, 1 or 2 cars may go by, and normally when I hit the same point just before the bridge I'll see the same man heading to work every morning, but that's about it till I get to the station. This morning however, I left my house, it was raining but decided to not bother with an umbrella, locked the door and turned right, but noticed at the end of the road there was a man holding his arms up like he was on an invisible crucifix and looking up to the sky. I instantly knew this wasn't going to end well, but work is work and that's the only way I could go, so I cautiously walked down the road. For half the stretch of this road I can't cross over, there isn't another side, so I stayed on the same side as until I could cross over. On his side behind him are bushes and trees, and an empty car park. On my side there is a drop down to the motorway. I was pretty much trapped till I passed the bridge, and even then I could only go into the canal or through the tunnel, so options were limited, and secluded, empty places, not where I wanted to be with this guy. I crossed over as soon as I could, hoping he was too drunk or high or whatever to notice me, but unfortunately he seemed to clock on to my deliberate attempt to avoid him and got angry. He started shouting and I just kept my head down and ignored him. As I came close to parallel to him, he charged across the road screaming either in another language or in some made-up gibberish and stopped in front of me, held his arms up again like he was being lifted to heaven and started screaming. In a moment of compassion I was genuinely concerned he was going to attempt to jump off the bridge into the cars below, but instead he looked at me and started to do strange lunges whilst shouting strange sounds. I don't even know how, but I found myself running back towards my house. I could hear him shouting after me and I think I heard him running. I can't stress enough how not in control of that decision I was. Literal fight or flight took over, and as a 5 feet 3 inches woman, flight was probably my only chance. As was running, 2 cars turned the corner and one of them swerved and starting honking their horn like crazy. The man was on the pavement still, so I think they must have seen him run after me, and were trying to distract him, which luckily worked. I got home and safely inside, but my heart was literally pounding in my chest. I was so close to passing out. I'd been hospitalized with pleurisy the week before this happened, and the running was too much for my lungs. I didn't leave my hallway for nearly 5 minutes as I was so scared he saw where I lived and would be turning up any minute. When I caught my breath and had calmed down somewhat, I called the police. They searched the area but couldn't find him. I suspect he is one of the addicts that live on my road. And I suspect that I've seen him again since this incident, but it's hard to be sure as it was so dark. I'm so grateful to the person in the car who distracted him while I was running. I dread to think what would have happened to me if he had caught up with me. I have no doubt that the man had purely savage and animalistic intentions. This took place back when I was 19, so back in 2014-ish, and sharing this info to explain why we were so naive. My friend and I, both female, live by a river that runs alongside the city, and we were avid urban explorers at the time and loved to go on night adventures. We knew of a secret spot at the river via the train tracks, and we wanted to go for a chilly night swim. As background info, to get to the train tracks you go to this neighborhood and find the dead end to the cul-de-sac that backs up to the woods. There is a steep staircase that leads from the cul-de-sac through the woods to the train tracks. All of this is very poorly lit and the staircase is pitch black and concealed with trees/shrubbery. We started heading down the road to the cul-de-sac and got pretty close to the end, but we saw someone standing there at the entrance to the staircase with his back turned to us facing the darkness. This is a college town, so we thought it was some drunk kid who was going down to the river and he would move along shortly. For some reason my friend and I both froze at the same time and stopped approaching the guy as he didn't ever go down the staircase like we expected, and he just kept staring into the darkness. We don't move, keeping our distance, and eventually the man turns around and addresses us. It was an older man, maybe in his 60s, with a longer white beard, and he had a paper bag in his hand with some alcohol. He offered some to us and we said that we were fine and no thank you. He asked us what we were doing and we lied and told him we were meeting friends. This whole time we never moved closer to him, almost frozen. We stood our distance. He started going on that we needed to be careful and he kept encouraging us to go before him down the pitched black staircase. He held up his phone and said he could illuminate the path. His phone was an old flip phone with barely any light emanating from it, so that made it even more sketchy. We declined. He then said, "You're safe in my woods, you're safe with my voice," and started to disappear down the staircase finally. We knew not to go down a pitched black staircase with that creepy man, and there was actually another path which was just an incline down that led to the same path. We figured that if we took that way he would be ahead of us and we could keep our eye on him. Stupid, I know. So we went down the incline and expected to see the man ahead of us on the path, as the path ahead was a straight shot. However, we never saw the man. We waited for a bit for him to come out and get ahead of us, but he never did. We got pretty spooked and walked back up the incline to the main road where the cul-de-sac is. My friend looked over at the creepy staircase and saw the man was watching us, and he ducked behind the bush back into the darkness. This really spooked us and we ran to my car. Luckily I brought my car, because normally we would just walk to the neighborhood. I admitted to my friend that the thought going through my head the whole time was, "I don't want to die tonight." She told me she had the exact same thought. I'm not sure what would have happened if we did go down the stairs, but he could have easily shoved us down them and done whatever he wanted to in the darkness. He was definitely up to no good, and we're lucky to be alive to tell the tale. This was my lesson, and I don't go to dark, concealed areas of the city at night anymore. Apologies if this was anticlimactic, but creepy and man at the dead end. I hope we never meet again. This happened to me when I was about 17F. I worked at a convenience store in my hometown. Back then we did solo overnight shifts. It's not as common in the big chains anymore for safety reasons. I was working alone when a young man came into the store. He was about 19-20. I went to the counter to wait on him and I realized he had his pants unzipped and he was exposed. I was internally shocked but thought it was probably a prank and he was trying to get a reaction out of me. I decided I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction, so I waited on him like a regular customer. It was the weirdest interaction. He walked around the store, exposed, looking at items, walked up to the counter to buy something, paid for it. I gave him his change, and he left, all the while letting his twig and berries get some air. I thought, well, he was probably disappointed at how that went and went back to my work. The next day I found out the cops had arrested him because he had come back later and was hanging out by the dumpster at the same convenience store, exposing himself to customers as they went into the store telling them to come here. The cops came and arrested him. Creeped me out a bit because honestly at the time I thought he was just some kid with friends outside just trying to get some sort of reaction out of me, when really he was a full-on creepy creeper. I'm kind of glad I didn't react. Probably confused him. I ended up quitting overnight solo shifts because my mom had a nightmare that I got stabbed in the back cooler while working alone. A few weeks after that dream, the guy who replaced me was held up at knife point. Well, there you go. That's my story. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more real-life creepy encounters around